Howdy, and welcome back to yet another episode of Garage Party. And on today's episode, it's a little different, as you can tell. For those of you who watched the Malibu series, you know where I am. For those of you who haven't, I'm in my basement, because it's too cold to film one in the barn tonight. So, especially for what this video is. So, what I want to discuss kind of in this video is more of a project car update. Because there's been a lot going on behind the scenes and whatnot that you guys haven't seen yet. And with that, I just kind of want to give an update. Especially because hopefully the day this comes out, I'm hoping it comes out January 17th. Today's the 15th, so I've got today and tomorrow to get it all ready to be posted on the 17th. Because the 17th marks 2 years that I've been doing this. I'd say I haven't made bad progress. I think I keep up with it as well as often as I can, especially when I have material for it. Along with that, I did get a decent amount of new types of camera equipment and whatnot for Christmas and my birthday, which is fantastic because this is being filmed on a GoPro Hero, I believe. It's got the wide camera angle. As you can tell, you see everything. I mean, the camera is only, what, like from here to there, it's probably 4 feet away. So, pretty wide. If you catch me looking over here, that's because I can see it on my phone, the preview and whatnot. But I'll do my best to stay focused with the camera instead. With that being said, I've got a lot of new camera equipment stuff and a little drone. I haven't tested it. I need to. But I'm hoping to get to really make some new advancements towards filming and making better edits and whatever else I can do. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the actual purpose of this video, which is, like I said, project car updates. So, the nice thing about this is I can look at which ones I want to talk about first. At the moment, I think I've got 9 vehicles. At my age, that's a decent amount. I'm 21 and I have 9 different vehicles. The first one that we'll talk about, we can talk about my 2006 Dodge Ram 2500. This one I got almost coming up to 3 years in September, so like 2.5 years-ish. 2.5 years ago. First ever vehicle I financed. Was it a good idea for the money I'm paying on it? No, not in the slightest. But you live, you learn, I guess. I only have another 2.5 years to pay on it. I'm gonna, do double payments on it and stuff, and try to get that knocked down sooner. As you can see, though, these I'm gonna try to put up on the screen as well different pictures that I've taken of it when I first got it. Some of the stuff I did back last year in 2024 on Christmas. Johnny and I actually put on my tow mirrors and cab lights. That made the truck look pretty good. And then most recently, as you'll see, as you probably already saw, if I didn't put in yet, it now is it's a dually, because the old bed on it was completely rotted and the rear end was going out of it. So what better to do than go out and buy this frame, spend $1,200 on it, get that entire frame. That parts on it are probably worth $4,000 themselves, so definitely a good steal. And then go out and buy I think it was $450 bed. That was in much better condition than mine. At least things won't fall through it. I did that. There's a small thing on it. There's a little YouTube short that I posted not too long ago. After I did it, I knocked it out. I started on a Friday night, finished it late Saturday. So it took some time, and it was kind of cold because it was like 5 degrees outside, but I needed to get it done. So I did. And the whole reason I swapped it now is because the tires on the other rear end were bald. They were very bald. So instead of spending $400 on tires, I used what I had, put it all together, and yeah, it turned out pretty good. It looks good. The rear end doesn't whine or howl or anything, so I'm very happy about that. yeah, that truck is more of the, you know, tow rig. That's what I use to haul every single vehicle that I've hauled. Which not including hauling certain ones multiple times. I think I've hauled with it around 50 to 53 different vehicles within the last 2 years, because I've only had my trailer for 2 years now. So I'd say that's a decent amount. But yeah, okay, that one, there's not too much of a plan that I'm gonna go with on it. I go back and forth on what I want to do with it, so I don't really feel like being like, oh, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and then it not happen, because, well, I don't know. It might not. If things happen with it later on, then of course it'll be on this. The only reason I didn't film the dually thing is because, well, it was cold and my phone camera didn't want to work, and I could have used these, but I didn't have them set up like this just yet, and I didn't have anything organized for it. So, moving on. This one is more of a Garage Party Racing update, because as you'll see in probably the overlay or whatever, this, you know, I got a well, the title says it's a 1975 Ford F100. One of my almost dream trucks. I really, really, really want to get a 75 F250. Because my dad had one. It was single cab, long bed, had a 360 in it. Really badass truck. Sold it when I was not even a month old. So, cool. But yeah, so I've really wanted to get one. I've seen one picture of his, because they only ever found one picture of it. And, this is close to it, so I was like, okay, so what I did was my Fox body. Well, my buddy Ben had this truck, and I was like, I want it, because he had two, and he was like, yeah, he'd sell it to me for dirt cheap, and so I threw out the idea that I'd probably have to sell the Fox in order to get it. And so then him and I just decided to do an even trade, and yeah, so now I have an F100. As you can see in the overlay, there is front suspension in front of it. I did buy Crown Vic suspension that I do plan to put on it. That plan is still going to be very similar to the Fox body plan. It's getting the cam to 2 valve with the T45, and I'm going to put an Explorer rear end in the back of it. That way I can put these SVO wheels that I got onto that, and I think it'll look really good. I do want to paint it. It'll probably become black, like how the Fox was. So paint that black. I've got a graphic design I want to try to get put on it at some point and kind of make it a cool shop truck. So even though that's not so much towards the racing aspect of what we'd like to do here at some point, that's just an update there, because at the moment I technically don't have any race cars. So yeah, hopefully soon-ish I can get started at least putting the cams in that engine and getting everything figured out and whatnot. But of course, the priority right now is getting the Ranger done. So, moving on, we've got the 1986 Chevrolet S10 that we've all seen. I think this one, as we know, got it out of the junkyard. The plan with it, get it running, driving, off-road it. That's still the plan. I've had it out one other time and the battery completely died on it, so we were not able to actually take it out. So that sucked, but whatever. I need to go back through the entire truck, figure out all the vacuum lines and whatnot, put a new battery in it, see how it runs, and just kind of go back through it and clean it up some, because after looking under the hood of it again and seeing the wiring job we did, it was enough to work, but it's not pretty, and I'd like to pretty it up some, clean it up some, and actually have it as a fun off-road toy. Future things I want to do to it are, like, actual suspension upgrades. So that's definitely going to be a priority, whether it's just stock stuff for now, or if I just get creative, do some off-roady suspension lift kit, or do like high traveling suspension on it, because I think that would be cool, kind of in a pre-runner type of stance, or like those Jeep Scramblers and stuff, get have the tires out a little bit, different axles, whatever. But that's the future plans. For now, I'd like to at least get around and driving and be able to go on, have fun with the truck. That's really about it on that one. I don't think there's too much that's changed in the plan for that, but hopefully sometime early next year I can get onto that one. But yeah, step one, at least get it running and driving correct. Once I do that, then I can do the fun stuff like figuring out fabrication for suspension and stuff. But for now, that I think is the main plan. I definitely need to do, like normal fix. Well, I need to get shocks on it, because the shocks on it, I think if I did show them in the video, they didn't take any force to compress, and to rebound I had to hit one of them up with a hammer in order to put it back in. So it was basically just riding on suspension would have been the tires. So that was cool. But yeah, so that should be it for that one. So moving on to the next vehicle that I have. What's that? That's number 3, so we're on to number 4. I have acquired this 1991 Lincoln Town Car. And I got this because I'm going to do a flip on it. I'm not really going to hang on to it that long. It's the first year that they ever did put the two valve 4.6 in anything, I do believe. I think so. At least this car was the first year that I got it. So it needs, you'll be seeing here soon, and get into timing chain because it needs one. It's got a slight fuel leak, and once I get those two all fixed and buttoned up, then we'll have to figure out whatever other problems it has, clean it up some, and sell it. I really have no plans or any type of real attachment to this car. I'm sure it would be a comfortable, fun car, but it's just a Lincoln Town Car. So, flip it, sell it, move on to something else that's probably cooler. I think that's really the only plans I have for that. You'll see any upgrades, anything that I do to it on the channel. So keep an eye out. Hopefully here within the next month or so I can actually get that in the shop. But yeah, moving on to number 5. Okay, this one's not mine, but this had to make the list because there is, 2 different series on it, and that's the Malibu. Once again, if those who have seen those videos know that was my brother's car. Well, long story short, it did pass emissions. It ran and drove okay for the first 2,000 miles, and then because I do believe the crank ended up being out around, or it's out of spec or whatever, it knocks. So Malibu failed again. So that's cool. There's not much to really say about it except for the fact that we don't want to put money into it. My brother is driving my grandpa's old Buick LeSabre, so he's got that car now. So it's like Malibu is just kind of getting parted out at this point. We're taking some of the stuff off it, like the tires and stuff, because they were good tires that were on it and they would actually fit the Buick. So we're gonna swap those over and then fire it up one last time and drive it over to the junkyard, and then that'll be the end of the Malibu. Sad, but oh well. Moving on. Number 6, we've got my current 2002 Chevy Blazer. And the Blazer I got a couple months ago, I guess. And my plan with the car, it was just to get it running, driving as a better fuel efficient daily than my truck was. I haven't posted anything on it because I didn't really ever intend to make it a project, and I really still don't, because it's going to end up on Marketplace probably later tonight after I film this video. It's been good so far, but I've got schemes for a potential buy hopefully soon, and in order to get this buy I have to sell one of my vehicles, and that's the one, because that's probably the one that would sell the easiest. Well, easiest, I say, because it runs and drives and can be driven on the road. Just recently I did put CV axles in it, upper control arms, sway bar bushings, and I'm gonna do a bunch of other stuff. I mean, I really did clean it up from when I got it. There's been a lot of different updates and stuff with it. It's a good running 4.3, it's got the 4L60 in it. Runs good, shifts good. There's not much else to say. I need to get an exhaust on it. But, yeah, so that one's kind of boring too. Whatever. Let's move on to number 7. Yeah, 7. Number 7. Yeah, number 7 is the Ranger. This one, this is the most recent project and whatnot. Nothing too surprising there. I'm still waiting on parts. I'm going to reorder that transmission cross member because there was some issues with getting it here, so we're just going to reorder it probably tonight, and then hopefully soon we can get that and start finishing sitting everything in there, because once I get that cross member in there, figure out how that's going to sit, then that in theory should be like one of the last times I take the engine out, because I'll have to take it out one last time, clutch, flywheel, throw-out bearing, all that stuff. I gotta put all that together, and once that's done, bolt it all back together, put it back in the truck, then that should be the last time it comes out for now. So yeah, like, just waiting on parts. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully soon we can get some more stuff with that. Yeah, not too much to update you on that because, well, it's the most recent thing, what's going on with it. So, moving on, let's see, what is number 8? Yeah, number 8 is my 2004 Ford Focus, and you might be wondering, why on earth do you have a Ford Focus? Well, easy answer, because I can. It wasn't originally mine, it was actually my dad's. He bought it 4 years ago. He got that because the Buick that he was driving, the subframe mounts completely separated from the body, and it was like we didn't want to pay the money, or we didn't want to fix it, so it was like, buy Buick, hello Focus. It's not a bad little car. This is probably the car that my brother and I, out of all the vehicles that him and I have driven, have abused the shit out of. So it's mine now, because a couple months ago, well, actually almost a year ago, I got this 2013 Ford Fusion. I got it off of Ron, the owner of the Fox Body, which we will talk about that one in a minute. But I got that off of him. He thought it had an engine issue because there's, he'd go to start it, it wouldn't do anything. So I was like, okay, weird, probably a starter issue. Found out it was, but it wasn't the case, because I brought it to my shop. We diagnosed it. We diagnosed it wrong first, actually, because when we cranked it, it would just like clunk really fucking bad. And then when you take the plugs out of it, it would sound like a jar of marbles. It was not good. And so I told him it needed an engine. And so he was like, okay. He said if it needed any major work like an engine or anything, he didn't want to mess with it. So I was like, okay. So then he gave that to us. And then over the summer and everything, I didn't really mess with it. I had a plan where I was going to flip it and just either use it for myself or sell it. But then my dad was talking to me, and we couldn't get the Focus to go through emissions. So we were like, okay, let's just, I was like, you got your pick. You've either got the Jetta, which I had, or you have the Fusion. I was like, whichever one you want to get going, we'll get going, and you can either have it or whatever. And speaking of the Jetta, quick sidetrack, the Jetta is how I got the Blazer. I traded the Jetta. I went like 2 hours in Illinois and picked up the Blazer and traded that. And that's how I got the Blazer, and that's why the Jetta, you haven't seen any updates on it, because I don't have it anymore. So, quick sidetrack. Okay, back to it. But yeah, so the Fusion, so that's what Dad, he wanted, because it arguably was the nicer vehicle. So then, end of July comes, and he's like, how hard would it be to throw an engine in this thing? And I was like, shouldn't be that bad. And he was like, okay, we'll see. We ordered one off of LKQ, and it was like, cool. Yeah, we ordered one off of that, got it in, because then on August 1st is when he ordered it, and he said he had 28 days to make it happen. And I was like, okay then. So we eventually got the engine, pulled one out, put one in, same thing. I was like, okay, that's an issue. So then I took the plugs out of it and tried to rotate it, and nothing. And I was like, that's an even bigger issue. Because actually, instead of even rotating over, it would just clunk. And I was like, that's weird. Well, we did this a couple more times, because then we did a lot more research on it, figured out that actually what the issue was, it wasn't the engine, it was the transmission, because it was the starter inside basically broke or whatever. I don't know what happened. I haven't opened it up. I haven't really diagnosed it. We just knew that the transmission wasn't correct, because when you would roll it, it would sound like the jar of marbles. And I was like, okay, well, so then me and Johnny, we went down 2 hours south of here into almost Indianapolis. I don't remember exactly where, but it was almost Indianapolis. And we picked up a wrecked Ford Fusion that ran and drove. We actually drove it on the trailer, which was, a great sign for me. So we brought that home, and then the week after or whatever, I dropped the entire subframe out, engine, trans, everything, brought it out, separated the engine and trans, put the trans up to the LKQ engine, put that back in the Fusion, and we tried it. And once again, bang, nope, same thing as before, and before the last time, and before that time, same exact issue. And we're like, okay, this is weird. So then we were doing more research on it. I was doing whatever I could to figure it out. Dad was doing whatever he could, and then he opened the email from LKQ stating that these 2.0s have, it's a TSB. It's not a recall, just a TSB, that if you take the harmonic balancer off, it will jump time. And we didn't know that. And so I was like, well, shit. So what we did, at the moment when we decided to do this, it was the engine out of the wrecked Ford Fusion we had put in there. And that one also did the same thing. But so what we decided to do is we got the LKQ engine up on an engine stand, and we were like, okay, well, let's see what it takes to retime this thing. So I did some research, figured out what I needed, what tools I needed, what I had to do, and then it came to find out all 8 exhaust valves were all broken off completely, and 2 intake valves got bent. Now, it was very surprising that all 8 got destroyed, because on one of the other engines it cracked only one, and that was it. So it was like, that's weird. Actually, on the 300,000 mile one, the one out of the green one, it only cracked 1 exhaust valve instead of destroying any of them. So I personally think that the LKQ engine had issues before we ever messed with it, but there's no telling after we, try to crank it over so many times. So with that, we decided to take the cylinder head off of the one that came out of the car, put it on the long block, timed it, stuffed it in the car, and it's been running and driving great ever since then. And because I did all of that work, I got the Focus. All of that to lead to I got the Focus. So that's how I acquired that. I do have some plans with it. I have no idea how soon I'd actually get to it. I could just make it a nice fuel economy daily for a little bit, but I've thrown the idea around of turbo in it, or doing some other dumb stuff to it, or whatever. But that's nor here or there. At the moment, it's not a main project, but it could be a nice fuel economy type of thing. But yeah, so that's why I have a Focus now. Cool. All right, number 10, maybe? This might be 10, or is this 8? I think this is 9. I don't know. I've lost count. But, so, this one's gonna be quick, short, easy, because it's about the Lincoln Premier, my 56. There's really no update on it. I've been pricing out a lot of stuff for the engine and whatnot, and everything I want to do. But right now I really want to focus on getting all of the other projects, like the Ranger, the F100, and the S10 kind of in a running and driving state before I really tackle this, because this is going to be a really big project. So I'm really just hoping to get some more feedback off of these videos and stuff, and potential payment stuff from these at some point, because that would be great. But if not, I mean, it's whatever. So yeah, we're just gonna keep going, and yeah. But yeah, so I've got I've got a book that I have all the parts and everything that I want to do, just engine wise at the moment, transmission wise stuff. But yeah, besides that, nothing else really new with the Premier, just sitting outside with the cover on it. So moving on to number whatever. I don't know. I do believe this is the last one, which is great. So, for those of you who've listened this far, this one should be I think this will be one of the cooler ones for you to hear. So good job, buddy. I don't know, pat you on the back or something. But yeah, so moving on to the final one. It is my 1998 Chevy Cavalier. I absolutely love this car, and I don't know why. As some of you have seen, like well over a year ago now, I posted a video of ripping a heart out of a Chevy Cavalier. That drivetrain, it's a 2.2 with a 4-speed automatic. That's all going to be going into my Cavalier, which you should be seeing probably here on the screen now. And that's going to be fantastic. You know why that's going to be fantastic? Because I said so. That car has a lot of history. So I acquired that back in 2019. It was my first car. Got it from my cousin. Great little economy car. It needed some stuff. It ran and drove. It didn't stop. Brakes were shot on it. The way my dad and I got it home, it wasn't even not even an 1/8 mile away. But we drove it home using the handbrake. Well, he drove it home using the handbrake and stuff. I got it, and at first when I got it, I was like, cool, it's a car, but I wasn't like, oh my god, it's the coolest thing ever, because it is just a Chevy Cavalier. But as I worked on it, and as I did, just standard stuff, brakes, fuel lines, some other odds and ends that it needed, really that was about it. It didn't need too much. I fell in love with the car, and it was like, just as I continued to have it, whatever. I drove around the yard a lot, but at this time, the only 2 vehicles back in 2019 that I had. Really 2019? One, actually, hang on, I'm wrong. Oh no, okay. Yeah, no, I was right. March 30th of 2019 is when I brought it home. So I didn't have my license, whatever. So I took my time. I'm sure that I paid for some of the parts. I'm sure my parents helped me pay for the parts because, first ever car or whatever. At this time in 2019, I did only have the Ranger and the Cavalier. I really didn't do much with the Ranger at this time. To be fair, when I was messing with all this stuff, I was really just learning more stuff with cars and whatnot. So, with that, this Cavalier has been through hell. I got it with like 128,000 miles on it. I don't even think it has 138,000 miles on it. And it's the car that I've actually owned the longest. Besides the Ranger, of course. But yeah, so this it was fun. So at first, this was gonna be my high school car. My junior year, I had my vocational class and whatnot, and with that, early in the year, guys were talking about like turbocharging their cars, or cars that had them. Like my buddy Louie, he had a Subaru WRX that had one. Bobby had a BMW E30, turbocharged, whatever. They're talking about all these cars and stuff. And at the time, I really didn't know much about turbochargers or forced induction in itself. I just knew that they existed and it was cool, but I didn't really know how they worked. So in September, I had this stupid idea where I was gonna tell them, "Hey, I'm gonna turbo the Cavalier," not knowing what I was getting into. And they're like, "No way." And I was like, "Yes way." I was like, "Dude, on spring break," I was like, "I'll do it in a week." I was like, "I swear." I'd watch Roadkill do it and whatever, and it's like, these guys with tons of experience work on all these cars and stuff, and it's like, now here I am, 16 years old, telling them I'm gonna turbocharge my car, and not knowing a thing about it. Well, I put in a lot of time and a lot of effort in just researching how turbos worked, what to do, what parts I needed, and then spring break comes, March of 2021. Yeah, March of 21. Spring break comes, and I'm like, all right. At this point in time, through vocational, I had gotten another 2.2 with 90,000 miles on it. So my plan was to take out mine and put in the other one, because to me, in my mind, less miles meant better engine. I don't know. I didn't look at bearings. I didn't look at anything. I didn't even nothing. Not a thing. And when I bought the turbo for it, I got this massive, like 77 millimeter turbo. I mean, huge for this engine. And yeah, so within the first couple days, I was a little worried, because the first night I was supposed to have the engine out, and I didn't, because I didn't know what I was doing. But the second day, my dad came down there. He helped me finish pulling it out, and it was like, okay, cool. So that part was done. And then after that, we put the other engine in, and then we put, I got, engine set in. By day 3 or 4, I had the turbo and everything set up on this engine, and I was like, this looks awesome. But then, spring break goes by a lot faster than you think, and you don't have everything you thought you needed. So it probably took me a solid month or so, month and a half. So during that time I was driving the Focus, actually. But every day, like after school and whatnot, I would be down there, I'd be working on the car, trying to figure out, what did I miss, what did I not do, this, that, and the other. And then finally, it's quite funny, because by May, for some reason we were doing, my brother and I were doing virtual school instead, but I was still like going to the vocational classes. So my homeschool, I would be online, virtual, my homeschool I'd be online, and at vocational I'd be there in person. So what I did is, during the times that I should be online and stuff, I'd enter the class, figure out kind of what was going on, not pay attention whatsoever. So yeah, I'd go mess with the Cavalier and whatnot. And this one day, I believe May 11th, I think, was when it finally fired up. I'd had it cranking and whatnot. It had fired before, but the anti-theft system started to mess with me. Started, to mess with, actually getting the car to run. But then I found if you bump the key once and then hit it again, it would like get out of that and actually fire up. And I got it fired up, and I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this is fantastic. So yeah, May 11th, I do believe it was when it actually first ran. And I backed it up out of the driveway, and then by the time it hit the end of the driveway, it was actually when it threw the belt, and the furthest I was actually able to take it was to the other driveway. And I was like, okay, so I just need a belt. And so I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, so then I go to the parts store, I get a belt for it, and I'm like, cool. I throw the belt on, it's correct, whatever. And then I think at that point, by the time I got the belt on it, whatever, it was time to go to vocational. But I don't remember if I took it that day or if I took it the day after. Either way, May 11th or 12th is when I actually took it to vocational for the first time. I didn't tell anyone it was done. I didn't say a word. All I did was I just showed up extra early, and there it was, just sitting in the parking lot while all my buddies pulled in and whatnot. And it was great. It was one of the coolest things ever. Everybody crowded around it. They were like, "You actually did it." Everybody says they're not going to do it. That's one of the teachers said. He said, he told my mom that actually at one of the school things, at one of the open houses. He said, he was like, everybody says they're going to do this or that and the other to the car, and then they never do. And he was like, but with your son, he did it. And I was like, that's a pretty big accomplishment, especially for being 17 years old at the time. And it was like, that's cool. So, after that one, though, once got it, like I said, everybody was crowded around it that day, though. Everybody thought it was really cool. And, kept driving it. I, you know, daily drove the thing, but I messed up a couple of things, like the return line to the oil pan and whatnot. And so it pissed oil. It pissed oil out of that oil pan. So I kept like a bunch of different weights of oil, and I just keep feeding the car. I you know, like I said, I'd keep putting oil in it and whatnot. And I mean, we took this car, you know, this Cavalier with a big dumb turbo on it and a hood stack. We took it wherever we wanted to go. It was great. We did a trip down to North Judson. It's about a 40-minute trip, but the total run time of the car that day was probably 3 hours of going back wherever we were going. And I never really got on it like how I ever wanted to. I never really got to fully enjoy it because I was like, I know I needed to get it tuned. I knew I needed to work out some stuff, but I just wanted to drive it. So that's what we did. We went wherever. I never actually checked the fuel pressure. I didn't check anything. I don't know what the AFR was because I didn't have a gauge. You know, I didn't know anything except the fact that it gained a lot of horsepower. That's for sure, and it would build like 7 pounds of boost, which. Me and my buddies were talking if I had like a little 50 millimeter turbo, like what should be on it or something, that's like 14 pounds of boost or whatever, you know, spooling wise and whatnot. And it moved pretty good. It was a lot of fun, especially going down like 49 out here and whatnot. We were going down 421 actually, and there's a semi in front of us, and every time in that car I could never pass anyone. It'd be a struggle. Like, it was a struggle once to pass a minivan that was doing 50 miles an hour, and I was like, you could feel the difference. You knew, I knew the difference. It was a faster car, you know. Yeah, whatever. And so that's you know, that's when I really noticed how much it really gained through this, because I flew past that semi. I mean, without the turbo and whatnot, it was a dog. It didn't move. It barely ever wanted to do anything. So it's like, it was cool. So then May, you know, like I said, we went all over the place. I went to a couple car shows with it, and actually a guy with a Buick Grand National, one, you know, badass turbocharged 3.8. Beautiful, like mint condition Grand National. He parked next to my shit box, and he was more impressed with my shit box than he was his own car. And I was like, it was really wild to see. Like, you know, he was asking me all these other, you know, these questions like, you know, how long did it take, what did I do, you know, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I was like, dude, you drive that and you're passing into this? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's cool. But yeah, with that, I drove it a little bit longer after that, and then May 27th, it's Fateful Day, kind of. A couple days before, actually, the weekend before, whenever that was, I was going to be going to a swap meet, and I get up onto 49, it's building like 7 pounds of boost or whatever, and then all of a sudden, boost cuts out, and all of a sudden the timing changes constantly. And so we were like, this is a bit funny. We didn't know exactly what happened. Later, when I was tearing it apart, I actually figured out what happened. But once again, skip to May 27th. This whole timing chain rattle, whatever, sounds horrible, you know, and whatnot. I'm going actually to one of my last track meets of that year, and I had just left the house, not even 5 minutes down the road, and I get up onto 130 out here, and then that's when it popped, blew up, cylinder number 3, just like glass, just, you know, explosion, huge white fucking cloud of smoke out of the hood stack and everything. I mean, it was a disaster. Yeah, put a hole in the pan and whatnot, and I was like, well, shit. So I had to go. So my sister came and picked me up, and my dad sat with the car until like he got a tow truck out there to tow it home. You know, the mile away that it was, which was a $75 tow, most expensive tow ever. But yeah. So we you know, like a little bit later, like a month later or so, after just being disappointed about it. We went down to the, put it in the shop, ripped the motor out. I had found out that part of the charge pipe that I had put in it, that I actually ran into a piece of PVC pipe and attempted to like plastic weld together or whatever. It didn't hold up to the 7 pounds of boost. Surprise, surprise. And blew out of the, and that's why I stopped making boost. And that's actually, I think, what messed up the timing chain and then eventually caused detonation and went kaboom. But yeah, so that's the big story on this car. And then after that, I put this old 2.2 back in it, ran it, drove it, had fun with it, had a like exhaust on it that sounded like a crop duster, and just had a good time with it. And then eventually, the trans went out in it. I 5-speed swapped it my senior year in vocational. And then after that, the head gasket blew on it because those who have Cavaliers, and especially the 2.2s, know how to bleed those systems. And the bleeder screw had broke when I did the turbo swap. And I had gotten it to where I could get it to bleed, and I got it to work with the turbo, and then I got it to work again when I swapped it, the second time. And then after that, it didn't work correct, and well, it blew a head gasket, and well, ever since then, the car hasn't ran and drove, and it hasn't had an engine in it for almost 3 years now. So that's one project that it keeps getting to me where it's like I want to, like just some days, like this week, I almost thought about getting in the shop, putting the engine up on a stand and, prepping it correct and seeing what the engine needs because I want to build it for boost again. And I think that would be a fun project again. But yeah, I think I'm going to start that actually pretty soon, at least the engine part of it, because I know I can get, that thing together in like 2-3 weeks for sure. So, and it gives me something to do while I wait on parts for the Ranger or anything else. Yeah, I think that's really it. So that car is going to be making a comeback here soon. Everything else we've talked about, like, once again, yeah, this has just been a pretty solid update. I know it's definitely a lot longer of a video than normal, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and there's been a lot of outside things going on with it. With the Fox body, he's just enjoying the car. It's got a slight oil leak out of the oil pan. Few odds and ends here and there, but that have happened while he's had it, and I go back and we fix it again and again, and he loves it. So hopefully come springtime, I can get it on the channel again. We could do a little photo shoot with it or something. Maybe that and the Ranger. We could go head to head. The Cam 302 and the Ranger against his pretty stock Fox body. So that's really it. I don't think there's much else to say or talk about or anything else. I think that covers everything else. Once again, I do know this was a much longer video. This recording's going on 15 minutes now. But yeah, once again, I'd like to thank you all for watching, especially if you did, and especially if you made it this far. I know, like I said, it was definitely a lot longer than normal, especially with me doing a lot of talking, but at least there's any update that I wanted to give, it should be out there. As we continue with projects and stuff, I will try to keep it as updated as I can. Well, if TikTok does go away, then I don't have a TikTok as of this coming Sunday. If not, then it's just Garage Party on TikTok. You might be able to find it better as Garage Party 2301, I think so. There's also a Instagram page for it as well, just once again Garage Party, which yeah, so those are the main two. I'm gonna try to post more on both of them, but like I said, once again, TikTok, if that goes away, then definitely gonna try to post more on Instagram. Yeah, so thanks again so much for watching, especially if you did, and if you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, do any of those, that'd be cool, but I can't tell you what to do. The last thing I think I'll throw out there is there are these shirts that are available. They say Garage Party on the front and Garbage Party on the back, because if you ever notice my intro, it flashes Garbage Party and then changes to Garage Party. And it's funny. My brother made these She gave me this for Christmas. Pretty cool shirt. I'll put the link in the description if you'd like to buy one. I think it'd be cool if you did. Once again, just like everything else, I can't tell you what to do. But that being said, I will see you all next time. Turbo everything's. Oh yeah, let me just turn a little.